Thank you, Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening. I've been in communication, and I believe your office may have been too, with a gentleman named Mr. Eric Olivas he's the chair for the Northeast Area Community Policing Council. And they're questioning the efficiency or effectiveness, maybe is a better word, of the comments that are coming out of that council and going to your office. Evidently, they don't feel like they're getting through to you, and if they are, then they're not hearing back from you. And also, would like to extend an invitation to you to attend one of their meetings. And I know you're really busy. I know it because you're at almost every place I go to. But I was wondering if you would consider, if you could not attend one of their meetings, if you could consider sending someone, maybe one of the majors or deputy chiefs in your place. I think that would go very long ways in helping to alleviate some of your concerns. So there's a question in there. Besides
no, I think I can answer it. Council President and Councilor Gibson. I think I'm already scheduled for their January meeting. I just had some scheduling conflicts on the other invitations. The other thing we found out was that the email account that I believe that they were using and sending them to me was being caught in our spam filter. So we looked into it last week. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. And again, I think that's going to make them feel like what they're doing is not just going to the wind and not going to anywhere productive.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Mr. President, I also have a question for you, Chief, and this is in regards to the latest report by the Federal Monitor. And I'm a little bit concerned because one of the issues that came up that he was critical about was what we are doing to basically provide the investigations necessary on excessive use of force. And I mean, he was positive on some of the issues, and I also have a concern regarding some of the meetings that I have attended at the U.S. Attorney's Office. When I'm hearing Dr. Ginger speak to the group that is in these meetings, you know, he's totally giving a different story than when he comes up with the reports. And the reports are a lot different and a lot more scathing, but I wished he would be open and transparent also, you know, in these meetings, because we need to know what's going on, and I'm not sure if he's still not communicating with you. And the last time I spoke to you, you said you hadn't really talked to the monitor in some time. But I think it's important that there's that communication. I mean, the monitor is being paid over $1 million a year, and he should be communicating with you and with your staff each and every day. I mean, if we want to get out of this this settlement agreement within a 4-year period, he's got to be working closely with us, and that concerns me. But do you want to address the one issue regarding the investigations?
Yes,
lack of, as he stated?
Yes, sir. Council President Lewis and Councilor Sanchez. I think number one is that when you look at the dates of the report, I think we had just finished our supervisor use of force investigation training. I believe we finished that on June the 2nd. I believe Dr. Ginger's report goes through July. I can tell you this, and I will assure you of this, is that we've had several meetings with all the sergeants, the lieutenants, and the commanders on making sure that they are doing an adequate review on all the serious use of force investigations and the use of force investigations that are being handled. We did find some language that we felt was troubling in some of the reports, and what I mean by that is rather than telling what exactly had happened, they used legal phrases rather than to tell the actual facts of the case. So I think we've done a very, very good job of telling the sergeants exactly what's expected in these use of force investigations. And then again, working with our CERT team, I can tell you that I've seen several of their cases, and I think they're very, very good as far as their analysis of the use of force that was utilized by the officer, and also recognizing any other issues that there might be as a result of the investigation. In other words, going back and looking at the nature of the call, making sure that the call taker all the way through the process from the time the call originated until the time that that call was completed, did we check and make sure that we were doing everything right? I think we're doing a much better job of that. I also believe that internally we're being more critical of each other in passing these investigations and making sure that we are getting the facts straight. And then anytime we're finding discrepancies that amount to forwarding that case on to internal affairs for investigation, I believe that our team is doing a very good job of that.
Can I have one more question, Mr. President? The next question is regarding the police department and the number of officers we have sworn that are serving today. Do you have that number?
As a matter of fact, I'd like to share with you some numbers that I think, since you've all been counselors for such a long period of time, except for Counselor Davis, but I know Counselor Davis is very aware of what's happening in a nationwide trend, is the inability to find well-qualified candidates. We're doing, I believe, we're doing a very, very good job. And let me just give you some numbers. On March the 3rd, we graduated 36. July the 27th, we graduated 27. December the 29th, we will graduate 31. And we have 40 cadets that are starting on November the 28th. That is numbers I don't think this department has ever seen. That amounts to about 134 new officers this year already. Are we where we need to be? No. We are at 826 is where we are right now. And if you go back exactly 1 year ago to today, we have a net gain of 4. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but let me explain to you that what we lost a lot of was those full-time rehires. We lost a significant number of those. I've got our new HR director, Mr. Tom Denslow, working on some projects for us so we can start providing what I believe is a fair spreadsheet and analysis of exactly where our failure points are with the applicants, the number of people that are coming through, where their fail points are, and collecting all that data. Right now, it's out at the training academy and working with Major Tyler and our new HR director, Mr. Denslow. We're going to start combining that information to be able to provide council with a report. And what I hope to be able to do is provide you with a monthly report so you can see exactly where our gains and losses are in our HR areas.
And I'm glad to hear that, because I was going to ask for an audit to look at the applicants, because if you've got 1,300 applicants and you're bringing in 36 cadets, you would think that there would be more qualified candidates than that, especially local candidates, where we can hire locally because they understand the culture, they understand the community. But I can see your challenges, but I'm glad to see that you've got this HR director looking at these applicants to see if we can get some of these applicants qualified. Council
President Lewis and Councilor Sanchez, I think based on a meeting that I just came from, the major city chiefs, and listening to what's happening all across the United States, even the larger departments, and what I mean by larger departments, you look at New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, which are tens of thousands of police officers. The problems they're having are exactly what we're having. Is our state statute reflects that you have to have these minimum qualifications. We hold true to those minimum qualifications, and where people are dropping off is now in the background area, and the background area is we have a 3-year ban from the state under state statute of illicit drug use, and we're starting to see that having an impact on some of our hirings right now, that we cannot deviate from that standard because it's a state statute.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, how are we doing on lateral hires? I know you had a pretty aggressive package and trying to attract lateral hires. I think you had a goal, pretty aggressive goal of 25 this year. How are we doing on that?
We're not doing very well. I think, I don't have the numbers here with me, but I can get those for you. The numbers were not nearly as well as we thought they were going to be. Let me see, just real quick, if you give me just a second, please. I know that we have a number of laterals. Right now we have, I believe, right now, 10 that are in the application process right now.
10 new, that it should be higher in the next month or so.
Well, they still have to go through the background process. And our background process on our laterals is the same now as our cadets, which is the way it should have been. And so it just all depends on what happens with their backgrounds.
Sure. Just briefly, I mean, some of the strategies that we talk about, it sounds like we're doing a good job with our academies, initial hiring. And I think, hopefully maybe some of that's reflected in the base pay that we increased, and so we did a number of things. And I know you all did a number of things to try to, make sure that those numbers increased. And really, when you think about it, when someone's joining our, law enforcement, especially these days and times, I mean, you got to think that they're doing it for all the right reasons and really seeing that, desire to serve and make a career out of it, which is pretty remarkable. Then you have laterals. I know that's another strategy, and then we try to help it on the back end. We try to keep good officers for as long as we can. What are some other ideas, just briefly? I mean, because I know that we as a council, we want to help you, and we want to be doing the kinds of things, focusing on the kind of things, funding the kind of things that we are going to be effective.
Yes, sir. We have a partnership with C&M, UNM, and also the Albuquerque Public Schools. During the summer, we ran a summer recruiting program. Right now, we're at 31 PSAs, which is it's a very good number for the department. We've got 15 that are in background right now. So depending again on what happens with their backgrounds, we hope to be running a PSA Academy very soon. I met with Mr. Perry last week and then again this morning, and I discussed another opportunity that I believe we have. We just had a National Guard unit that came back from being deployed. They're all MPs, they're all military police officers serving in different roles in different countries. And speaking with Lieutenant Colonel Steve Garcia, hope to have a meeting with him in the next couple of weeks to talk about that as an applicant pool now that they're all back from deployment. So there's different strategies that we are using. We believe that the PSA program still is a very good way to bring young men and women into the police department. The other thing that I talked to Mr. Perry about last week, and then we had a discussion again this morning, is there's another group of people that we're going to look at the possibilities of also seeing if we could hire them in more of a civilian position than rather a sworn position.
And I tell you, I think the idea of the PSAs and that kind of a message makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, people we can invest in for long term, and when we get to train them, and we train them to be police officers, but I think it's a good investment. So, Councilor Gibson first, and Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Chief, a while ago, maybe 2 months ago, you and I were having a conversation, and you indicated that that many of the hopeful cadets didn't pass the initial, look at their applications and resumes due to insufficient reading and writing skills. So is that still a problem, one of your major problems?
Yes, Councilor Gibson, it is. And I believe that we're going to be probably by January or February have a strategy put together to put together a coaching program that would last, that would be either in the late afternoons or in the evenings, a readiness exam, prep exam. There are commercial products that are out there, and I encourage people that are applying to the police department to pick up those commercial products. And there's study guides on how to be better prepared to take the exams. But I think that's one of the things that would benefit some of our applicants. As I said earlier, I've got Major Tyler and Mr. Dinslow. I want them to be able, for me to have the specific numbers. I've got some general ideas as far as the numbers of people that continue to fail the city entrance exam, but I want to get those numbers checked, verified, and then we'll be able to give that information to you here soon.
I'm really glad that you're taking that approach, because it does seem like a real shame to lose those folks, you know. They're aspiring to a vocation on the level of police officer. And that means that they have some ambition and lacking in very basic academic skills that we learn in school is a shame. So I'm wondering also if we could do something more of us, more than just a soft handoff, C&M, or one of the other programs that, several programs in the city actually. Goodwill has something, Workforce Solutions, I believe, does as well, to give them a basic math, basic English, grammar, reading and writing, reading for comprehension, that type of thing. So have you considered anything like that? And if I can help you with that, I would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Real quickly, I know you stated that you'd spoken with Commander Garcia and the group of military personnel that came back, and I'm glad to see that we're trying to get some recruits there. But I was a little bit concerned because this community and the taxpayers of this community have always supported our veterans that are on deployment. And I think they were paid while they were out on deployment. And now they're limited to what they're being paid, I think 266 hours. What is going on there? Because I felt that when we have our personnel and our police officers leaving on deployment, they are now being limited on what they are being reimbursed, when historically in this city, they've always been paid their police officer salary. I don't think that's the case now. And I was somewhat concerned about that.
Mr. President, Council Sanchez, if I could maybe address that question.
That'd be fine.
We're working with the Human Resources to try to resolve the issue that had developed. Let me just kind of set what the parameter is, though, is that the military benefit for police officers in Albuquerque is a total of 430 hours. And what that consists of is 150 hours of training, 150 hours of pre-deployment training, or 130 hours of deployment. And what we're trying to do is get documentation, just so that we have a situation where it's documented that these individuals are actually in the training programs and the like, and that our files reflect that. If you look at Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department or the state police, I think the state police benefit is, and Chief might be able to help me since he was the secretary of state police. It's is it 120 hours? Yeah, 120 hours. Ours is 430. The governor can authorize an additional 120. And what was BCSO's when we looked at that?
It wasn't.
It was 150, maybe 15 days. It was fairly.
There was somebody who was 15.
Yeah, fairly modest compared to the city of Albuquerque's. And I think we have to be mindful that when folks go to military service, that they're being paid for the military service, but usually that's not the same as what their civilian salary would be. And so we want to make sure that they don't lose money. They can still make the house payment and the like. But we're doing that for the better part of 4 months out of a 12-month year, and that's per year. They can, again, turn around and do it the second year, too. And we have some officers, basically, that have pointed out that there's a few officers that are volunteering for this because it's lucrative. You're double dipping. You're being paid by the military while you're on the military order, and you're secondly being paid by the city the full salary. So we're just trying to make sure that we get these equities resolved and the documentation is sufficient. We recognize that we want to do better than the other entity in the state. We think our program does that, and we're just trying to tighten up some of the section.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.